YouTube. What up, YouTube? What up? How y'all doing this evening? I'm gonna do two quick videos. Damn, I do need to get back to the club read about the New World Order. I'm tired today, y'all. I really am. But I want to drop two quick videos, and we just gonna get right into it. Come on, stream yard. This one we remembering Ashanti Shakur. This is Tupac. And I remember when they broke her, I was remember when they broke her out of jail and she fled to Cuba and been there ever since. They even tried to bring her back recently from Cuba, but she fought exile in Cuba and she's been there for over 30 some years. And she passed last month, September 25th. I've been wanting to do a video. I think she was a remarkable lady cure from the Black Panther Party. Let me see. And if y'all don't remember her, this is how she because she was a beautiful active black. Okay, because if YouTube keep doing this, maybe I better do that now. Because if it keep doing that, now Shanti was born July 16th, 1947, and she passed in Havana, Georgia, September 25th. She was an American political activist and she was a prisoner of war. She was a revolutionary and a fugitive. Was a member of the Black Panther Party. That was never one. In 1977, she was convicted of first degree murder in New Jersey State for force during a shootout in New Jersey term back in 1973. She was a revolutionary. That's why Tupac was so feared during the time. It was because Lynch and his bloodline. She hid from prison in 79 and by the FBI with $1 million reward for action lead to a capture. This is in the 70s. Put $1 million on her head. And an additional $1 million offered by New Jersey Attorney General. She was never caught and remained a fugitive for 45 years. They tried to bring her back last year, but Cuba said no. She was born Joanne by in New York City, New York. She was the first one added to the FBI most wanted list. The FBI most wanted terrorist list. And she was the godmother of Tupac. And I got her book, Ashanti, that she wrote. And I think I'm going to read that book at our next book club reading. I'm going to read her book, Ashanti, because I got her book. So she was convicted of first degree murder, atrocious assault and battery against a police officer, kill, possession of a firearm, of a weapon, and her penalty was life imprisonment. She escaped November 2nd, 1979. She remained a fugitive for 45 years, 327 days after her escape. She was born in Flushing, Queens. She grew up in New York City, Wilmington, North Carolina. After running away from home several times, she was taken in by an aunt who later acted as one of her lawyers. Shakur became involved in political activism while attending the Borough of Manhattan Community College and City College of New York. After graduation, she adopted the name Ashanti Shakur, briefly joined the Black Panther Party before becoming a member of the Black Liberation Army. Between 1971 and 73, Shakur was charged with several crimes. I read that. I'm not going to go on that. On May 2nd, 1973, Shakur, along with um, BLA members Zaid Shakur and Sandetta Akoli were stopped on the New Jersey Turnpike. The incident escalated into a shootout with the state troopers Warner Forrester and James Harper. Forrester was killed and Harper was wounded. Shakur was killed and both Ashanti and Akoli were wounded. In her 1977 trial, Shakur was convicted on multiple charges, including murder of the state trooper. Shakur maintained that she could not have fired the shots that wounded Harper and killed Forrester if her right arm injuries on correctional facility for women in New Jersey. Now remember, Tupac was also in the Clinton correctional facility. You see how that time? Wow, that's deep. That connection right there. Right. In New Jersey, Shakur escaped in 1979 with the assistance of the members of Black. They bum rushed and got her, broke her out of prison. That's how bad the Black Liberation Army was, formerly the Black Panther Party. That's how bad they was. Okay, she wasn't for no games. So they broke her out in 1979 with this Liberation Army, the May 19th Communist Organization. She was granted political asylum in Cuba in 1984. Look how long that took, where she resided for the remainder of her life despite ongoing efforts by the U.S. government to secure her extradition. Cuba would never extradite her back to the United States. In 2013, the FBI added her to the FBI Most Wanted Terrorist list under the name of Joanne Schismar, making her the first woman to be put on that list. She died September 25th, 2025, at the age of 78. Dang, she was about that life, she was about that business. Hold on, I want to show this. Oh no, where's the video? I got so many folders on this. I'm probably gonna have to. Okay, let me find it. Oh, here we go.
Who is Assata Shakur? To some, she's a freedom fighter and poet. To others, a convicted murderer. Her life is a whirlwind of acts about justice and race in America. She changed her life forever, leading to her conviction, escape. Now exile, Assata wrote a some, villain to others, in the ongoing struggle for. Assata Shakur's story is not just her own. It's a lens on America's soul. reflecting the Black struggle for freedom and systemic oppression. Her life is deeply tied to the FBI's COINTELPRO program.
Mhm.
Black liberation groups and leaders like her.
Fact.
Medical evidence suggested she was incapable of firing the weapon, yet she was convicted amid media history and studies a heroin fugitive. Her unreleased 1947, Assata Shakur's split between New York and the her parents sent her to live with loving grandparents in Wilmington, North Carolina, where she faced the harsh realities of Jim Crow. Moving back north, she struggled to belong, fueling a rebellious and her aunt, Evelyn Williams, a lawyer and activist, became her guiding light, mind planting the seeds of revolution, where she faced both subtle and overt racism. In the white classrooms, teachers were surprised by her intelligence. Reading real history for awakening, she realized that the system wasn't built to empower her, but to keep her compliant. This fueled her anger and set her on a path to challenge injustice. After earning my GED, I enrolled at BMCC, then City College of New York, right in the heart of 1960s political ferment. College became my training ground. I joined protests, sit-ins, and debates, learning to channel my anger into action. My activism led to my first arrest, demanding Black faculty and a Black studies program. Those years transformed me from Joanne Byron into Assata Shakur, a committed activist ready to fight for Black liberation. After graduating from City College, my campus activism and joined an organization that was directly confronting state power. That journey led me to Oakland, California, the birthplace of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. The Panthers' 10-point program, which demanded land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace, just totally resonated with my core beliefs. I saw in the party a disciplined, revolutionary force that wasn't just talking about change, but actually working to make it happen. In Oakland, I threw myself into the party's work, helping to organize community programs and political education classes that empowered local residents. When I returned to New York City, I quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a
Come on, StreamYard. I'm paying too much money for this to do this, to keep going in and out.
some of the party's most vital survival programs. I helped coordinate the Free Breakfast for Children program, sure that kids in the community started their day with a good meal. That was honestly a radical act of love and resistance in a society that often neglected its most vulnerable. I also worked with the Panthers' free health clinics, providing essential medical care to folks who were ignored or mistreated by the mainstream healthcare system. My work was always grounded in the Panther ideology of serving the people, body and soul. My leadership was really characterized by my passion, intelligence, and unwavering dedication. I became a powerful speaker and a skilled organizer, inspiring others to join the cause. I understood that revolution wasn't just about armed struggle, it was also about building strong, self-sufficient communities. The survival programs were the heart of this strategy, showing that the party could provide for the people in ways the government wouldn't or just couldn't. Through this work, I became a beloved and respected figure for its liberation from systemic oppression. But my time with the Panthers wasn't without its challenges. While I was deeply committed to the party's goals, I also started to see some problems within its internal dynamics. The Black Panther Party, like a lot of revolutionary organizations back then, wasn't immune to sexism and power struggles. I found myself clashing with the male-dominated leadership, feeling like the contributions of women were often undervalued. This internal conflict, along with my growing belief that the party was losing its focus, eventually led me to a tough decision. I believed a more clandestine, more militant approach was necessary to combat the increasing government repression that was tearing the party apart. While the Black Panther Party projected this image of revolutionary equality, my experience within its ranks revealed a much more complicated reality. I discovered that even in a movement dedicated to liberation, show culture that often defined the actions and attitudes of many male Panthers. It felt like the men, even while talking about revolution, would end up replicating the same oppressive gender dynamics they claimed to be fighting against. Women were expected to take on supportive roles, with our voices and strategic ideas frequently dismissed or ignored in favor of a more illusionment wasn't just about personal slights. It was a deep political critique. I believed that a true revolution had to liberate everyone, and that meant confronting sexism within the movement just as fiercely as we confronted racism in the couldn't succeed if it marginalized half of its potential fighters. In my autobiography, I wrote about the contradiction of men who could eloquently speak about the evils of systemic oppression. This lack of internal consistency weakened the movement, making it vulnerable to division and failure. My critiques weren't always welcomed, though. Challenging the male leadership was seen by some as divisive, a distraction from the main enemy, the racist state. But for me, those two struggles were inseparable. I refused to be silent, advocating for a more inclusive and holistic vision of revolution. I pushed for women to take on more prominent leadership roles, to be trained in self-defense and political theory, and to be recognized as equal partners as with some of my most powerful male counterparts, but earning me the respect of many women in the party who shared my frustrations. Ultimately, this internal struggle was a key factor in my decision to leave the Black. The constant pressure from the FBI's COINTELPRO program was also taking its toll, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and distrust that only made things worse. I concluded that I could no longer be effective within the party's structure. I needed to find a new path, one that lined up more closely with my vision of a truly revolutionary practice, one that was uncompromising in its fight against all forms of oppression, both outside and inside the movement itself. After leaving the Black Panther Party, I joined the Black Liberation Army, a clandestine network of former Panthers committed to armed struggle. Inspired by global anti-colonial movements, we saw ourselves as fighting an internal war of liberation against a racist imperialist state. During this time, slave name. Life in the BLA was dangerous, but I was willing to risk everything for the dream of Black of the FBI's COINTELPRO, an illegal program aimed at destroying Black liberation movements. Under J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI saw us as threats, not activists. I was singled out, painted as a violent criminal, and linked to crimes with little evidence. My face was everywhere. I became a symbol, forced to live on the run, transformed from activist to fugitive on the New Jersey Turnpike. A white Pontiac carrying me, Sundiata Acoli, and Zaid Malik Shakur was pulled over by police. What began as a routine stop
Come on, and StreamYard, I paid for this. Damn.
surrendered. The shootout was over, but my fight for freedom had just begun. After the shootout, I faced a legal storm: 10 indictments, 7 trials, and charges from bank robbery to attempted murder. It felt like a COINTELPRO war in court, meant to break me and paint me as a criminal. Yet 3 acquittals and 3 dismissals proved the state's beliefs, not just my actions.
Facts.
At the heart of my defense was my own body. Medical experts testified my injuries, paralyzed arm, bullet wounds, made it impossible for me to fire the shots. No fingerprints or gunpowder residue ever linked me to the weapon. The evidence told a story of a victim, not a perpetrator. For my supporters, this was proof of my innocence, a sign I was framed for a crime I could not commit. On March 25, 1977, after a long trial, the jury found me guilty of murder and other felonies. The courtroom was stunned. Despite medical evidence and no forensics linking me, the verdict confirmed my fears about American justice. I never believed I could get a fair trial in a system I saw. Even in prison, I remained a symbol of resistance. My voice only growing louder for those who believed in my innocence.
Come on, StreamYard.
Program targeting Black liberation movements. The Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army faced the harshest attacks, with agents infiltrating, spreading disinformation, and instigating violence. The goal? Prevent a messiah who could unify Black activists. Assata became a prime target, her every move watched, her name added to secret files, her activism criminalized. The FBI's COINTELPRO waged a personal campaign against Assata Shakur, codenamed Chesrob. Their goal? Link her to nearly every violent crime involving a Black woman on the East Coast, building a public image of her as a dangerous outlaw. Sensational headlines and wanted posters fueled public fear, making her the most wanted woman in America. Forced underground, Assata lived in constant fear, isolated and hunted. This relentless campaign set the stage for the New Jersey Turnpike shootout, culminating years of government persecution. The state's campaign against Assata Shakur was a masterclass in propaganda. The FBI and media painted her as a terrorist, erasing her activism and political context. This narrative justified harsh crackdowns and delegitimized the Black liberation movement. By the time of her trial, public opinion was poisoned. Her guilt was assumed. The image of Assata as a dangerous enemy persists, a product of COINTELPRO's lasting influence. Understanding this propaganda is key. It wasn't just about one woman, but about crushing a movement. In 1979, Assata Shakur escaped from prison in a stunning collective operation. Her comrades, armed and determined, broke her out, humiliating law enforcement. The escape electrified supporters and infuriated authorities, sparking a massive manhunt. Assata vanished into the underground, becoming a zone. To many, she was a freedom fighter, proved that defiance was possible, even against overwhelming odds. It was more than a jailbreak. It was a legend in the making. After years underground, Assata Shakur found asylum in Cuba in 1984. Cuba welcomed her as a politically respected global. Her words and inspirations,
Yes,
linking
it
Black
did.
liberation in the U.S. to struggles worldwide. The U.S. still demands her extradition, but Cuba refuses, seeing her as a symbol of resistance. Decades later, Assata remains in Havana, an icon of resistance by exile. Assata Shakur's story is a lightning rod, against racism and injustice. For others, a wanted criminal. Her life forces us to confront the blurred lines between resistance and crime, justice and persecution. The debate over her legacy reveals America's unresolved struggles with race, power, and dissent. Her journey challenges us to ask, who defines justice? Who gets to be free? Assata's story is not just history, it's a mirror for today's battles. Her fight and the questions it raises remain urgent and unfinished. Assata Shakur's exile raises a pressing question. What does justice look like now? Calls for politics and persecution. A pardon would acknowledge past injustices and offer a gesture of reconciliation. For over 40 years, she's lived peacefully, inspiring others from afar. Keeping her on the terrorist list seems out of step with her life since. Her story urges us to hero or villain Assata's.
And we lost all the great ones are passing away. They passing away.
Now let's look at the team. And you got to understand this. He sees that the bigger he gets, because his family is Black Liberation Army and Black Panther. Now let's get back to Assata Shakur, his auntie. His auntie was a high-level prisoner, killed a police officer with her other comrade. They shot and killed a police officer in the 70s. She gets into jail. She's like fucked up. She escapes jail, hides for 2 years, right? And then goes to Cuba where the president of the country protects her. And now she's been there ever since the 78 or so.
Yep.
In Cuba until Castro died. Now she's back on the. This is Tupac's family. So now, how can he escape and have police officers, the same crew that got Assata Shakur? Decades on the run, over 40 years, the FBI has been searching for this woman. They believed for all this time that she had been in Cuba, but they were not able to extradite her from Cuba. Decades on the run, over 40 years. The FBI has been searching for this woman. They believed for all this time that she had been in Cuba, but they were not able to extradite her from Cuba because of the bad relations that we had with Fidel Castro. As you point out, we are learning about her death today, and it was all around the conviction and the execution-style murder of a New Jersey state trooper. He was 32-year-old Wiener Forrester, and this came as a result. He was shot and killed as a result of the police stopping the car, part of a nationwide manhunt because she was a suspect in the 70s. And as you point out, she escaped from that prison, went to Cuba. She was born in 1947 in New York, grew up in New York and North Carolina. And at one point, she had joined the Black Panthers and became a part of the Black Liberation Army. And you point out also that she changed her name. And living in Cuba all this time, they had even thought that when Barack Obama was president, when he went over to Cuba, that he might bring up this case and try to get her from Cuba. Didn't happen. According to Cuban authorities, she died in of old age and of health complications. She was 78 years old.
Hey.
In the wake of the murder, it was a minor robbery, and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. We heard people in the streets, and when we joined with the march. Chapter 3 of Assata Shakur's autobiography. He writes, "It is our duty to form
Facts.
to win. We must love each other and support each other, we have nothing to lose but our chains. How many times have you heard just that last 4 months? How many times have you heard that in the streets in the last 6 years? How many times have you heard that at meetings or have a young person stand up or have a 6-year-old or 10-year-old or 26-year-old or that 6 years? It's our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose. That's where the chant comes
Wow, we have nothing to lose but our chains. Rest in peace, Ashanti Shakur. Kudos to you.